Hello everyone, my name is Liam Smith and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the spine-chilling world of school horror stories. Get ready to be captivated by 3 bone-chilling true tales that will make you think twice about the places where you learned your ABCs. But before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more horror stories. Now, dim the lights, grab your favorite snack, and let's journey into the eerie unknown. Story number 1. On a chilling Washington night, amidst the inky darkness that blanketed the small town, the lone figure of John, the night security guard at Washington High School, stood as an unwavering sentinel. His night shift had become a monotonous routine, a burden he bore with quiet resignation. For years, he had been entrusted with the key to the school's secrets, guarding its empty halls and echoing classrooms in the silent hours of night. As the wind howled through the gnarled branches of the ancient oak trees that surrounded the school, John's unease grew. The school, with its imposing brick facade and history dating back over a century, had always carried an air of mystery. But this particular night was different. An inexplicable, bone-chilling tension hung heavy in the air. Around midnight, as John reached the main entrance, he heard a faint, distant sound. It was like a soft, haunting melody that seemed to emanate from the school's auditorium. Curiosity piqued, he decided to investigate. He followed the ethereal music, and as he approached the auditorium, it grew louder, each note dripping with melancholy. Pushing open the heavy double doors, John was met with a sight that sent shivers down his spine. On the dimly lit stage, a ghostly figure in a tattered gown played a grand piano. Her bony fingers moved with grace and precision, but her face remained hidden beneath a veil of long, dark hair. The ghostly pianist seemed oblivious to John's presence as she continued to play. He tried to speak, to ask her who she was and why she was here, but his voice caught in his throat. The haunting melody filled the auditorium, echoing through the empty space. Suddenly, the music stopped, and the spectre turned her head slowly, her hair parting to reveal hollow, lifeless eyes. She stared at John with an intensity that froze his blood. The chill in the air became unbearable, and he felt an invisible force pulling him towards her. With a sharp gasp, John stumbled backward and fled the auditorium, the phantom's anguished wail trailing behind him. He slammed the doors shut and leaned against them, his heart pounding in his chest. What had he witnessed? What was the story of this forlorn spirit? As the night wore on, John's dread deepened. He couldn't shake the feeling that the school held a dark secret, a haunting past that had come back to claim him. The mere thought of another encounter with the ghostly pianist sent shivers down his spine. With the first faint light of dawn, John began to breathe easier. The night had been long, and he was eager to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the school. As he made his rounds to ensure the doors were locked, he reached the auditorium again. The doors were shut, but the faint strains of the haunting melody still lingered in the air. Summoning all his courage, John opened the doors cautiously, expecting to confront the ghostly pianist once more. But the stage was empty, the grand piano covered in a layer of dust. The chilling music had ceased, leaving behind an eerie silence. Relieved and mystified, John closed the doors and hurried to the security office, ready to log off and leave the school behind. He just needed to complete one final task, locking the front gates. As he approached the entrance, he noticed the gates were already wide open. His heart raced as he realized he had locked them securely earlier in the night. Panic overtook him, and he fumbled for his phone to call the authorities. Just then, a bone-chilling voice whispered in his ear, "You can't leave, John. I've been waiting for you." He turned to see the ghostly pianist standing before him, her eyes devoid of life. Before he could react, she extended her bony hand, and with a terrifying touch, his body began to wither, his life force draining away. In the end, John became just another name in the annals of Washington High School's dark history, joining the ranks of those who had encountered the school's malevolent secrets. The night security guard, once a living, breathing man, had become a permanent resident of the spectral realm, forever bound to the haunted halls of the school, where the echoes of his harrowing demise would linger for eternity. Story number 2. It was a gloomy Tuesday evening in the small American town of Willowbrook. The sun had set early, casting eerie shadows across the town's quiet streets. The air was chilly, and a dense fog had settled in, shrouding everything in a ghostly haze. David, a high school student, had been working on his assignments and lost track of time. He realized with a start that he had forgotten his textbook at school. With a heavy sigh, he realized he had no choice but to return to Willowbrook High School to retrieve it. The thought of being alone in the school after hours sent shivers down his spine, but he couldn't afford to fail his history class. Armed with a flashlight and a nervous heart, he set out on the dimly lit journey to the school. As he approached the school, he could feel the oppressive darkness closing in on him. The only sounds were his own footsteps echoing eerily in the quiet streets. The school's building loomed in front of him, its windows like hollow eyes, and the rustling of leaves in the wind sounded like distant whispers. David's heart raced as he pushed open the heavy school doors, their creaking breaking the silence like a gunshot. Inside the school, David's flashlight cast long, dancing shadows that seemed to mock him. He hurried to his locker, his steps echoing through the empty hallways. When he reached his locker, he fumbled with the combination, his hands trembling. Finally, the locker popped open, and David grabbed his history textbook. He was about to leave when he heard it, a faint whisper coming from the darkness. "David!" He froze, his flashlight trembling in his hand. He knew he was alone. He had to be. The school should be empty at this hour. It was probably just his imagination playing tricks on him. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart, and continued toward the exit. "David!" The voice, more insistent this time, sent a chill down his spine. It was as though the shadows themselves were whispering his name. David's footsteps quickened, but the hallway seemed to stretch on endlessly. Panic set in as he realized he was lost, disoriented in the labyrinthine school. "David, why did you leave me?" The voice was closer now, and David could feel a presence, an unseen force, drawing near. He knew he couldn't stay here any longer. He had to find his way out. He turned a corner and stumbled upon the school's old library. Rows of dusty books and tattered curtains swayed ominously in the breeze. "David, I'm here," the voice whispered from the darkest corner of the library. He shone his flashlight in that direction, and his blood ran cold. There, among the books, stood a figure. It was a girl, her eyes hollow and lifeless, her uniform tattered and stained. She reached out a hand toward him, and David could see that her fingers were skeletal and decayed. With a scream, David turned and ran as fast as his trembling legs could carry him. The school seemed to shift and change around him, its layout twisting like a nightmare. He had no idea where he was going, but he couldn't stop. He could still hear the girl's voice behind him, growing louder and more desperate. Finally, he burst through the doors and into the parking lot. The night air was cold and refreshing, and the fog had lifted. David could see the safety of his home in the distance. He didn't stop running until he reached his doorstep, his heart pounding in his chest. The next morning, David's parents found him pale and shaken. His story of the haunted school met with skepticism. They assured him it had all been a bad dream, but he knew better. The memory of those lifeless eyes and the ghostly whispers would haunt him for the rest of his days. As the years went by, David tried to put that night behind him. He graduated from high school, moved away to college, and started a new life far from Willowbrook. But the memory of that night always lingered in the back of his mind. Story number 3. In the heart of a quiet Florida city, nestled among sprawling oaks and the eerie murmur of swaying Spanish moss, lay the ominous Hollowbrook School. A place where whispers of long-forgotten secrets hung heavily in the humid night air, and the halls echoed with chilling tales passed down through generations of students. On the surface, it was just another educational institution, but beneath the facade of learning, a sinister darkness lurked, waiting to reveal itself. Jack McAllister, the enigmatic and stern headmaster, had dedicated his life to Hollowbrook. It was rumored that he spent more time within its aged walls than he did in his own home. He was known for his tireless dedication, his ironclad rules, and a curious penchant for working late into the night. Jack was a solitary figure, a man who held the keys to the secrets that lay dormant within Hollowbrook's labyrinthine corridors. The school itself seemed like a relic of the past, with its ivy-covered red brick walls, creaky wooden floors, and dimly lit hallways. On most evenings, Hollowbrook assumed an eerie stillness, interrupted only by the hoot of an owl or the distant hum of a passing car. One fateful night, as the clock neared midnight, Jack was alone in his office, poring over paperwork as shadows danced in the flickering candlelight. A storm was brewing outside, its gusts rattling the windows and casting ghostly silhouettes on the walls. Jack's brow furrowed as he tried to make sense of the accounts, unaware of the sinister presence that had crept into the room. The following morning, students arrived at Hollowbrook School to find the entrance gate unlocked, an unusual sight for a place that usually remained locked until Jack, the ever-diligent headmaster, arrived to oversee the start of the day. The atmosphere seemed different, charged with an unexplainable tension. Whispers of Jack's late-night presence began circulating among the students, a rumor that sent shivers down their spines. As they entered the school, the hallway lights flickered ominously. The air seemed colder, and an unsettling silence hung heavy. A group of students ventured down the corridor to the headmaster's office, hoping to find answers. Their footsteps echoed in the lifeless hall, each step drawing them closer to Jack's office. The door creaked open, revealing a scene that would forever haunt their dreams. Jack McAllister's lifeless body hung from the ceiling, a noose tightly wound around his neck. His face, contorted in a grotesque grimace, stared back at them, the eyes bulging with an expression of abject terror. Panic swept through the group as they stumbled back in horror, tripping over their own feet to escape the macabre sight. The image of their beloved headmaster's lifeless form would forever be etched in their memories, a testament to the malevolent force that lurked within Hollowbrook School. The school was thrown into chaos as news of Jack's death spread like wildfire. An investigation was launched, but the circumstances surrounding his demise were shrouded in mystery. Some speculated that it was a desperate act by the headmaster himself, but others believed something far more sinister had taken place. Rumors swirled, and students began to experience inexplicable phenomena. The classrooms echoed with eerie whispers, and shadows moved on their own. Some claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of Jack wandering the halls, his empty eyes fixed on them in silent accusation. As the students embarked on their quest for answers, they faced terrifying apparitions, demonic forces, and unspeakable horrors that lurked in the shadowy recesses of the school. The line between the living and the dead blurred, and they realized that to confront the malevolent entity, they would have to confront their deepest fears and the darkest secrets of Hollowbrook itself. In the end, they discovered the horrifying truth. Jack's death had not been a suicide, but a sacrifice, an offering to the malevolent entity that had held sway over Hollowbrook for generations. With great courage, they confronted the entity, and through a harrowing battle of wills, banished it from the school forever. Hollowbrook School, once a place of darkness and despair, began to heal. The malevolent force that had plagued it for so long was gone, and the students and staff could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The memories of the horrors they had witnessed would forever haunt their dreams, but they had triumphed over the darkness, and Hollowbrook could once again be a place of learning and growth, untainted by the horrors of its past. Thanks for watching these 3 school horror stories. I hope you enjoyed them. If you want to see more horror stories, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And if you have any school horror stories of your own, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear them.